edition of the On the Mic podcast, and I normally don't get an opportunity to talk to fighters on fight week. I don't like to bother them. They got weight cuts, they got other things to deal with. But my next guest, very gracious to even pick up the phone and answer me, and it's been a while. So welcome back. It's been a very long time. He is in the main event of BKFC this weekend, the one and only Jimmie Rivera. Sir, long time no talk. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. So obviously, a big weekend for you. Main event against Daniel Straus here on BKFC. What has this transition been like to one, the most rising popular combat sport, and two, just completely different from your time in MMA?
Um, I mean, it's been a crazy ride, very interesting ride, but a fun ride. I mean, Dave Feldman, they put on a great show, and it's one of those sports that's growing. It's not competing with MMA. I definitely think it's competing though with boxing, and it's surpassing boxing. It's like it's the fights that people want to see. You know what I mean? People don't want to see tit for tat. They want to see wars, and that's what it's been like the whole time. Just fucking wars and fun and high pace.
I know up and down throughout, since you've joined it, but what was the decision to join it? Obviously, I know you want to stay active, stay competing, but I mean, you chose the most brutal option of them all.
I mean, it was different training and definitely something lighter on my body compared to doing MMA. MMA, you got to kickbox, wrestle, grapple, box, the whole nine. You know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu. When you transition this, you're just focused on one art form. And I loved to box prior to that. I always had fun boxing, getting ready for fights as well. And then the other thing was just obviously negotiations and how contracts went. It was I think, very, very good contract, very reasonable. And I couldn't say no to it.
I know you recently graduated from the police academy and doing police work. How do you handle the two different lifestyles?
Dude, between being a police officer, training for fights, running a school, and having two little girls, it doesn't stop. I have a very solid group and a very great support system. So it's like unbelievable. Like my business partner with the school, he's great. He's there for me. My chief, I'm good friends with. He helps me out. You know what I mean, with the flexibility of my schedule, because I obviously got to train. I think the priority is training. But just doing it, man, it's just let me tell you, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how I do it. I just get it done.
Ever have an incident? Obviously, this is probably the most corny question I can ask, but ever have an instance where you're getting into it, engaging with someone as a police officer, and they're like, "You want to fight, dude?" And you're like, "If you only knew."
There's a lot of times that I'll be like when I'm in patrol and stuff like that. I don't think it happens because they just see the ear and they ultimately like think, oh, I don't want to get wrestle with this dude. He knows what he's doing. My ears are really fucked up. But there's been times where I run into people and they're like, oh, I know you, and like want to get a picture or autograph, something like that. There's only very few times that's like an instant where like they kind of want to go, and we try to obviously de-escalate the situation, but it's not even they recognize. It's like they don't recognize who I am. They don't really pay attention to what's going on, and a lot of times they're under influence. So when someone's under influence, all that stuff of like sizing someone up, it kind of goes out the window. The only thing they look at is like how tall you are, and I'm only 5'4", so they see that and they're like, I can fuck this dude up. But thankfully, since I've been working and as a patrol officer for 2 years now, I've only had one use of force. Uh, what's it called? Incident. Besides that, we've been training myself, uh, our Chief Feligno, and we actually have Ron Showman. We started a defensive tactics program that we're doing about 4 or 5 years now with Elmwood Park, and use of force has gone down, and confidence obviously gone up. In the state of New Jersey, I can speak for. There are more programs coming out, and there's some stuff being mandatory next year from the PTC of doing requirements of defensive tactics. But we started our own program. We've been running with it. It's been going great. We've been adding stuff to it and just making it better and better and better. And in Jersey, you only had defensive tactics when you're in the academy. So for the 5 to 6 months, and that's it. There's no other training. So there's other programs that are gone out, and that it's people are getting really more onto it. It's a big thing that it's just becoming successful. Our program and other programs are out there because people realize the most we use is our hands. You know what I mean? Having go hand to hand. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying hand to hand like fight, just hand to hand control someone, jujitsu stuff. And that's the most important thing and most used thing in the police force that we use all the time when needed. And it's the least amount of training we get into it. So now, the least amount of training we get after the police academy. So this is something that's continuing ongoing. We mandatory, my chief and I, is mandatory. We do 3 sessions a year. And out of those 3 sessions, your mandatory is 4 hours each session. So it's 2-hour increments, and you have to show up for 2 of that mandatory. And I think just doing that and just learning the basics and understanding stuff, and like not like how many videos you've seen cops grab a headlock and then all of a sudden there's 3 cops that can't control, like it should
Right.
only or 2 people to handle it. You know, we even with when we teach it, we teach 2 people. Everybody else is kind of watching surroundings, because if you got the third or fourth officer, most of the time they're watching surroundings. And you know, Jersey implemented, like, you know, we have a safe officer who's making sure they're watching the safety of everybody. So there's a lot of other things into it, and they're trying to make it better. I think the biggest thing is having a good defensive tactics program, but also I think hopefully, and what our goal is to get into the academy and teach on that level where we could teach people more effective stuff, plus with experience. Like some of these guys that teach in the academy, they can teach it and they know it, and some of these guys can do it, but the teaching's different, and you got to be able, and that just comes with experience and guidance. So someone takes a week or 2 week course to become an instructor, and they have whatever background they have, and they're an instructor, and boom, that's it. Where you have someone like my chief, who's been doing it over 10 years training, and his background, Ron Showman, who's been around God knows how many years, he's been 30, 40 years
Right.
teaching and doing all this. And then me, you know, a little over 25 years. And having that and be able to teach guys and make guys understand, because when we do our program's not only about, you know, to help the female officer who's, you know, small, but also there's some cops that are out of shape. So also help that. That's what it's geared to. Now, if you're a cop that's in shape, you're gonna do great. If you're a cop that's in shape and know what you're doing, you're gonna do even better. And it's just gonna be even easier for you. You're gonna be like, this is fucking a no-brainer. And it really is. It's just basic stuff that is neglected and needs to be taught and just reinforced.
Well, beautifully put. And when you say, you know, this is probably interviewing a fighter and a cop at the same time, and you say there's only been one incident, you got to use force. And I'm like, is it the left hand or was it the right hand? But I'll say this publicly. I am so glad that I moved out of New Jersey back when I did, because you being on the force now for 2 years, and where you are in the force, I frequented it a lot. I frequented an establishment right down the street, across the street from you guys. So I never would want to run into Jimmie Rivera after a night out. But
But it's never
honestly,
people do the right thing. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? You've been drinking, don't drive, get a fucking
yeah.
Uber. You know what I mean? You know, you're having some dispute with a significant other, someone like that, just give the cops a call. Let them get involved. Let them do a report. Let everything documented. Keep it simple. You know, let us, you know, you go through a case where wherever it is, you're being sued, you're suing someone, you have your lawyer, their lawyer, you usually have a mediator. We're the mediator when it comes down to everything. Just call us. There's no big deal. I mean, there's literally like, you know, sometimes we get people think it's stupid calls, but like someone fell down, elderly person, help us up. And they're always, I'm so sorry, you know, this is stupid. I'm like, it sounds stupid. This is what you pay your taxes for. We're here to help you. You can't get up. You're 80 years old. We get it. Like, we're going to be there one day. We'll probably be calling too. Like, it's just the way it is. There's no shame in it, you know?
I gotta ask, but my lady and I were very big fans of, you know, the hit show on Reels as On Patrol Live. So as someone who not only loves sports but loves, respects, and honors, like, you know, our first responders, especially the police force, when you got into such like martial arts and then obviously spent time in the UFC now in bare knuckle, what led to that decision of wanting to pursue this career as a police officer and like give back to your community?
I mean, I didn't, when I did MMA, I didn't plan on going as long. You know what I mean? When I got into bare knuckle, I'm like, man, I could actually do this a longer time, you know, how it is on my body. And 2020 hit with the pandemic, and it kind of like I had to shut down my school. Didn't have kids at the time. I'm like, I got to make sure like I could take care of my family. What would I do that I would still enjoy and I'm helping people at the same time? Because you know, when my school in Short Hills, Tiger Showman's, and all the Tiger Showman schools around, the kids are come in for self defense and discipline, build their confidence through those 2 things. And adults is, you know, self defense is smaller depending on the area. and getting in shape is the biggest thing, which obviously builds their confidence when they're in shape and they know how to defend themselves. What can I do that will never get like it'll never close? Like I can always, there's always work to do, and being a police officer is always work to do. I enjoy it. It's definitely interesting way of life. But there's always work and there's always stuff you could do. You know, with Elmwood Park, our chief's really big in community policing. We do a lot. We do a lot of events. I mean, once spring hits, it doesn't stop, and then it slows down a little bit in October, November. You know, October we do like a little scare night. Do something for the kids and adults, like a scare house and like, you know, fun stuff for the kids and candy. And then Thanksgiving we do a turkey give out, and then with us and our PBA. But then you know, that slows it down in the fall, and then December we do Christmas tree and manure lighting, and on top of that we do a ride around. We give out candy and stuff like that. We get dressed up. We have one officer who dresses up as Santa. We do that too as well, and it's a fun. I mean, it's a fun time to do that. Get back community and like, you know, just be with them. On top of it, like when summer hits, I'm 2 weeks, I'm like stagnant because we're doing your junior police academy. So as long as I don't have something I have to do, I'm literally running the junior police academy with a couple other officers, and we're doing that. And that's from like ages, I think like 9 to like 16, 17. And that's from like, you know, 8 to 3 all day for 2 weeks straight. And we don't charge for it. It's free for people that live in town.
That's amazing. I compliment you on all you do, and especially the decision to give back to the community. Now, to get back to the combat sports side of things, was there ever a moment, Jimmy, where you like talk to your wife or just those around you, and you're like, "I'm gonna do the most brutal fucking sport that there is," because yeah, I understand there's more arts in MMA and there's more dangers in UFC and all that, but no one walks out of a bare knuckle fight just with a clean face.
You know, I think so it's definitely one of those things where when you're doing MMA, you have to worry about first getting kicked in the head. That's a lot stronger than a punch, obviously. But then there's so many things intertwined that I feel like you get hurt worse in MMA than you could in bare knuckle. The worst thing you're gonna get is you're gonna get cut up. That's the downside. It's very easy to get cut up, you know, bone to face and stuff like that. That's definitely an easy thing. But when it comes to the actual, you know, art of the bare knuckle box, like you got to pick your shots. You hit the wrong shot, you're gonna fuck your hand up, you know. So that's another thing. So I think bare knuckle is high intensity, high pace, but at the same time, a lot safer than other sports. A lot safer than boxing. Look at these guys that I met a lot of old time boxers, just in general, you know, fighting and stuff like that. And man, that CTE is real. They're punch drunk, some of them. And, you know, when you look at, you're doing 10 rounds, 12 rounds, 3 minute rounds with boxing with gloves compared to 5 2 minute rounds, you know, higher, faster pace, slower pace, and you're just nonstop getting punched in the face. Bare knuckle, yeah, you get a punch in the face, but you're not going that duration of how many hits you're going to take to the head. And then obviously, like my last fight with Jeremy Stevens, doing great winning the fight, but he hit me with a good shot, I got cut. Doctor stopped it, which sucked, but literally, it was one of those things like come on, like just let me keep going. And it was one of those Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz fight where what's it called? I mean, Nick, where, you know, little upside. I'm winning the fight, but then get stopped with a cut. Where Jorge was really doing well in that fight, and he had the cut Diaz, but you know he wanted to keep going. The same day I wanted to keep going, but unfortunately, you know, I had to stop it.
Is there a side of you that you think bare knuckle, and then, like you said, yeah, it's safer in comparison, but is there part of bare knuckle when you know you're gonna get cut up and you're gonna cut up your opponent, you feel like maybe a quote unquote brings that dog out of you a little bit?
Oh, for sure. I mentally prepared for this to know that I'm gonna look fucked up after the fight, and I'm gonna get fucked up in the fight because no matter what, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna exchange. You know what I mean? And that definitely is in there. I can mentally prepare, but it's part of the sport, and I just deal with it. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to get my hand raised.
I gotta ask, when you were in the UFC, obviously Conor McGregor was, rising to stardom, and now he's the biggest star in the sport. And in a weird way, and not to say, any disrespect to any other bare knuckle boxer, but I don't know if a sport and a person have fit more than Mike Perry and bare knuckle boxing. What's it like when he's around, and what do you make of someone who was also where you were in the UFC, coming over to bare knuckle and just finding what works?
I think he's the front man for us at Bare Knuckle. He's doing great. The sport was fucking made for him. And I mean, I think it's going. I personally think for him it's going really well, and he's the front man, and he's fucking entertaining at the same time. He goes in there, and it's a war, and you never know what you're gonna get with Mike. Sometimes it might be a little bit of boxing, sometimes it might just be a fucking brawl. You know what I mean? You never know what you're gonna get, but it's gonna be a fight. So that's what's fucking dope about watching him fight.
And that's obviously what's dope about watching you fight. When you're trying to get people in that into watching BKFC, guys like yourself, Mike Perry, those are who you tell first time watchers. All right, we got to sit down. We got to watch this fight. With that being said, obviously big announcement in the last event that Conor McGregor has bought in to BKFC. You're obviously main eventing this week. How do you feel business is rising within BKFC?
I think it's doing great. I think the business is rising. I mean, I know we're in Connecticut. It's a little further from Jersey. But I think once we get into Jersey, it's going to be a huge, huge East Coast thing. Jersey or even New York City. You know what I mean? One of the two. Once those kind of give and we get whatever needs to be done, whatever Dave Feldman and other guys have to do, I think it's going to be unbelievable. And it's just going to be, even bigger. You know what I mean? Coming from the East Coast guy, like for sure. Um, Man, I mean, the sport's just growing.
It definitely is. And obviously, you'll be taking on Daniel Straus. Now, it's a little different, right? Interviewing you in a boxing fight or boxing match, because we're not talking about all the other, arts that you got to be prepared for. What are you expecting out of Daniel Straus in this fight?
Um, I feel he might be a little tentative. I just got to bring the pressure to him. I think he's a tough fucking dude, and it's gonna be a war, and we're gonna fucking make a fun show for the people watching in the stands and the people watching at home.
Yeah, everybody can catch it on Triller TV. I know he's had a bare knuckle fight before, but you're more of a veteran in that space. Is it kind of a welcome to the party mindset for
Uh,
you?
Tough opponent. Both tough guys. Dad's tough dude, and fought him, and it was a close fight. I'll tell you that. It was definitely a close fight, but that just put the pressure on. He just kind of outthrew him at the end of the day. If you watch that fight, um, I mean, listen, you don't underestimate anybody. Anything can happen. You look, Jeremy Stevens, I'm 2 up, and then in the third round, he hits me with one, catch me with a good shot. Not gonna lie, good shot. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, couldn't see for a second. Took a knee. I'm like, my vision came back. It was, from the cut. Got up. I'm like, all right, let's go. I took him right back to him. But again, winning that fight and then getting cut and the doctor stop it. It's like, it sucks, man. If I want to go out, I want to go out either by losing by decision or, if I'm going for the knockout and I get knocked out, I can't be upset. I'm going for the fucking kill. It's just the way the sport is. It just fucking happens. It's happened to
Right.
me. Get rocked with a head kick or anything like that. I've got asked multiple times, like, are you worried about getting hit by bare fists? I'm like, no, man, I've been kicked in the fucking face. I think getting kicked in the face is fucking a lot worse than getting fucking punched in the face with a bare fist. And, at the end of the day,
Would you want that fight back with Jeremy Stevens?
fuck yeah, but a little lighter. He was fucking big when he came in. I took the fight going up a weight class. They needed someone, and they basically gave me two opponents, and it was either on a smaller card, at 45, or having to fight someone that's a big name and being on this big card. I'm like, come on, it's a no brainer. I'll take that fight. Um, Obviously, definitely went in. I'm like, dude, this fucking dude's huge, but went in feeling great. And it just sucked, obviously, the outcome. But hey, it is what it is. I had that. Um, had a draw fight with Howard Davis, who at the time was the number one contender. Now I think he's like still ranked 2 or 3 up there at 45. Had a win over a guy that had, like, I found afterwards, had like 100 Muay Thai fights. I can't even pronounce his name. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The Russian killer. But dude, I hit him with everything, and I've dealt with guys like that. You hit him with everything in sync, and they just keep coming forward. Like, damn, this guy's got a good fucking chin.
Well, obviously, sign me up. I don't think David Feldman watches any of my stuff, but sign the world up for a rematch with you and Jeremy Stevens. What's the timeline for you for the rest of this year for competition?
you know, I fight, and then once I'm healed up from the fight, I have my manager contact them and find like the next one. Um, I would really love for that to, the commission to approve it and get it legal in Jersey and fight in Jersey. You know what I mean? Fight, right in the backyard. That'd be fucking awesome. Connecticut's not that far, but again, being in Jersey is always a different thing. Fighting at the Prudential Center when I did, attending when my teammate fought recently at AC, and being a guest years ago in Atlantic City for the UFC. It's just awesome. It's like it's home. So I I hope eventually it comes there, and cross my fingers, say a couple of prayers.
David Feldman does really good business and he makes a lot of good decisions. So if we get the commission to sign off on it, obviously be a stacked card of East Coast talent with yourself included. What should fans expect from you this weekend?
Fucking just a war. Tune in, buy tickets. You go on my bio. I have a link to tickets. You can go on my bio and get what's it called? The app if you can't make it, if you're far away. I know it's Mother's Day weekend, so happy Mother's Day to some of the moms. I know not every mom wants to show up to a bare knuckle fight on their day, so stream it for the support. The other thing I have in my bio is I am selling Jimmie Rivera shirts, and the proceeds are going to what's it called? Why am I blanking out right now? Oh my god. What's it called? Make a Wish. Sorry about that. Blanking out for a second. I want to say American Dream, but I'm like the mall. Make a Wish. So just always try to give back whatever I can. So and try to do other things besides the stuff I do at my school and do in the community of policing.
I'm pulling up the shirts here and I'll definitely share it myself when this interview drops. I got to get me one of those shirts for sure as well. Anything. Yeah, I'm just
They
so happy that you
want to rock a pink shirt.
hey, listen, I'll rock whatever. If it Jimmie Rivera's on it, I'll rock. Because what are you gonna say? I mean, you're not gonna talk shit about the shirt if I'm repping you. So
That you can always go with the little guilt trip. Be like, dude, we're wearing a pink shirt. I'm like, yo, this pink shirt, I donated money to Make a Wish. You're gonna give me shit about it?
could also
That's
do that. Yeah,
well,
that's probably the easiest.
all right. Well, come step outside. I'll show you I'll show you a little something about this pink shirt. But I hope you train before you do.
I haven't been training since I moved to middle of nowhere, Missouri, but I'm also in a boot right now, so I don't think I'm picking fights with anybody. So,
Oh, hit hands.
dude, I'm at the age where I walk and my feet. I have to tell you, my feet just get messed up from walking. But I want to say thank you, Jimmie, for picking up the phone, man, and doing this on short notice, and also just being someone that I could reach out to again, even though we haven't talked in a while. In all seriousness, man, congrats and good stuff by you. You know, getting into the force and giving back to the community. I think that's honestly one of the more remarkable things that anyone can do, whether they're a fighter or not. And so for you to do that, I have a high amount of respect for you as a person, in law enforcement and obviously as a fighter. So big
Appreciate
ups
it.
to you, man. And I really appreciate you jumping on with me and all the best. I can't wait to watch this weekend.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And guys, don't forget to tune in or show up. Tickets, bio, app, you stream it. You know what I mean? And then again, the Jimmie Rivera shirts or sweatshirts, a whole bunch of things. There's onesies in there because I got kids, young kids. It's a little kids shirt, so you could grab a shirt and then it goes to Make a Wish.
Jimmie Rivera on Instagram to get their tickets or the merchandise. Again, it gives back to the Make a Wish Foundation. So thank you, Jimmie. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, bro. Have a good one.
You too.